Hi, welcome to my manga reading log for March, and I did not realize this until I started pulling out everything that I read for the month, but there's about 50 volumes here, and a good chunk of that were volumes that took a while for me to read as well, so we'll just get right into it. I did complete a couple series that I want to do full reviews on, so those I will kind of give like a brief summary of what I thought, but then a video for those manga will be coming out soon. First, we're gonna start with Blank Canvas, My So-Called Artist Journey, and this is a autobiographical manga by the same author as Princess Jellyfish and other works, but this so far is really good. It is basically about the girl Akiko and her journey to becoming a manga artist, which starts off as her kind of being a high school student who doesn't really know what she wants to do in life. She knows she wants to be a manga artist but doesn't know like the path to get there, so she enrolls in this art school in town, but it's basically just this old guy teaching from a part of his house, and this teacher is very strict, but like you can tell that he really does love his students, but he's like a very strict, hard-headed old dude. And the structure of this manga is that she's writing a letter to him basically much later in her life, and that's kind of the reason why I stopped at 2 volumes, because the teacher is a very like endearing character and I really like him, but it's obvious that he has passed away by now. She's writing this I think like 20 or 30 years in the future, but like I don't want to know how that happens. This is just really good story so far. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more when I'm up to it, but it makes you reflect a lot about your own life. Like when she's writing this, she acknowledges that like, wow, I was a brat, wow, I took a lot of things for granted when I was younger, etc, etc. Like in volume 2 she's in college and she like doesn't go to class, she just parties, she just drinks, she doesn't focus on what she's there for, and like it's a very self-reflective manga. And I also have another autobiographical manga that I read this month, but this was really good. I'm excited to read more. There's only 5 volumes, but yeah, I know a few people were asking me about this before, but my thoughts will be coming soon when I finish this. Okay, and then sticking with the theme, another autobiographical manga I read was My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness by Nagata Kabi. And this one, okay, first I want to start with the trigger warning. There is NSFW content, but in my opinion it is very tasteful. Self-harm, eating disorders, suicidal ideation, but I think if you're able to read this, everyone should read this. I did not expect it to hit me as hard as it did. From the title alone, it is pretty relatable to me in general, but this was not about really sexuality. It is more about like a coming of age story about this mangaka figuring out her life, like going through dead-end jobs, going through a lot of personal mental health issues, body issues, etc. I wouldn't call it a like LGBT forward manga or anything like that. She just happens to be lesbian, but I think this is a really kind of like almost profound story, and I'm glad that I picked this up, and I do have the next 2, so I will probably film a review for this as well when I read those 2, and possibly talk more about my personal experiences if I feel like opening up that day. But you know, I think this is a really special manga and I'm glad that I picked it up. Okay, next we got A White Rose in Bloom, and this is by Asumiko Nakamura, which is the same author as Classmates or Dokusei. So right away I knew I had to pick it up. Like I love their art style. It is pretty unique, so not everyone will like it, but I really love it. And this is a girls love series about a boarding school in Europe, so the setting is really cool. I really like the ambiance of it all. Nothing groundbreaking so far. These 2 girls are the only ones stuck at the boarding school over winter break, so they like grow closer in that aspect. And I think it is a really cute story. I think the next volume is coming out in November, and I'm excited to read it. I really like this. I usually do not read a lot of Yuri, so I'm glad that I like this one. Okay, next we got Perfect World Volume 1. This story follows a woman and a man, and the woman used to have a crush on this man when they were in high school, and then they meet again later in life when he is in a wheelchair. He is paralyzed from a car accident, and she is like not familiar with how to go about a relationship with someone in a wheelchair. So I think this was a pretty good first volume. The only gripe I have with it, they meet at like a company work party. Like he's an architect and she's an interior designer, so they're like, companies have a group dinner or something like that. And then like the next day he's in the hospital for something and she's like the sole person there for him. It's really weird. Like if you meet someone after, I don't know, 7 years, why is she suddenly like the #1 person in his life the next day? It's kind of odd, but I think the story was pretty good so far. I don't know how accurate the representation of his disability is, but I did pick up the 2nd volume of this and I'm excited to take it one by one. Romance series are very hit and miss for me, so I'm not gonna jump full into this quite yet. Okay, next we got volume 11 of Beastars, and okay, wow. After I read this, I was kind of just sitting in my bed for like half an hour thinking like, what did I just read? It is an intense volume, but like everything that happens in the volume happens within like a span of a couple hours in the story. But wow, a lot happens. I can't say anything without spoiling it, but like if you want to talk about this volume with me on Instagram, please DM me so I can like scream, because volume 9 is still my favorite volume. Volume 11 is getting close. Like there's so much happening, and I think it did conclude a major like plot premise, because if you look at the preview for next week, it seems like the issue is resolved, which is good, and I'm excited to see what happens next with this one. Definitely. Okay, and then next I read volume 8 of Wotkoi. I did a full first impressions video of this, so you can check that out, but basically I am like kind of frustrated with one of the couples, but I hope it gets resolved in the next volume, which is slated for September, so I'm really excited for that. I was kind of holding off on reading this because I didn't know when the next volume was going to come out, but I'm really excited for that. So yeah, I'm continuing to like Wotkoi. Okay, then next we got volumes 4, 5, 6, and 7 of Silver Spoon, and I continue to love Silver Spoon. It is a good slice of life story about a agricultural high school. I think I've mentioned this before, but trigger warning for butchering and like the animal industry in general. But this is just like a wholesome, cute story, and even though it does seem like Hachiken is having some character development, the plot with his like family still continues to be a major like roadblock in his life, which I understand because like, oh, he's an angsty teenager or whatever, but I hope he does learn by the end of the story. Since I'm like much past my angsty teenage phase or whatever, it's kind of painful to read sometimes some of these stories where the teenagers like hate their parents, etc., which is a totally valid emotion to go through, but like just putting it in the perspective of someone who's older, it's like just seems childish to me. But I'm excited to read more of this. I don't have any more past volume 8 because these are quite expensive, so I think this will be put on hold for a little while, but I have plenty more to read, so that's okay. Okay, and then next I did finish Arca Under the Bridge, so I read omnibuses 5 through 7 and then the last volume 8, which is actually volume 15. So this I'm definitely going to film a full review for. If you saw my reaction on Instagram to finishing this, I actually did cry at the ending of this, which is pretty rare for me, and I think this is a really special series. Please look out for my review if you're interested in this whatsoever. It is a comedy manga with some romantic elements, and I clearly got way too attached to these characters because the ending was very happy, but like it made me sad. You know, like that empty feeling when you read something really good and it's over and you're just like, what do I do now? It was that kind of feeling with this, so I'm excited to express more of my feelings in the future, but please look out for that. Okay, and then I read the first 3 volumes of Ouran High School Host Club because I did buy the box set for this, and I do like the anime for what it is. It's kind of a nostalgic series for me that has a lot of issues, I will acknowledge that. As we all know, I'm very hard on a lot of series that have bad LGBT plus representation, and this series does a lot of good, but it also does some bad. Like, there is good representation with Haruhi's dad being a openly bi drag queen and Haruhi's whole gender fluidity pretty much and use of pronouns, but I wouldn't say that this is problematic because it is very self-aware in the fact that like even in the introduction, like Kaoru calls himself a homosexual, but like as his niche, like that is the thing that they do to draw in customers, so it's like it's very self-aware. And it like is a very fine line between like mocking and paying respect. One of the authors and notes she did write that like she very much respects these communities that she writes about, so she's not trying to offend anyone. And it's just like Tamaki is just straight up homophobic. Like when the Lobelia girls come, he's like, 2 women, what is the point of that relationship? And I was just like, okay, calling me out there. He's straight up, I don't even know what to do with Tamaki, but anyways, this is a very nostalgic series. They do go in a different order than the anime. I was kind of surprised about, like a lot of the stories are kind of mixed around, so I'm excited to read past what the anime goes by because I know the ending is original, so I've always wanted to know what happens. I have a vague idea, but I haven't read it myself, so I'm excited to read more. I'm just taking it with a grain of salt. Like, you can't take it too seriously, especially if you're someone like me who like overthinks everything, but if you're just looking for like a old school comedy manga, I guess I would recommend this. I think it is more enjoyable if you have seen the anime and it has like that nostalgia factor. I don't know how enjoyable this would be just going in blind if you haven't read or watched anything Ouran before. Yeah. And like speaking of a series that I did criticize for its bad representation, Komi Can't Communicate. I did a full first impressions of this. Check it out if you want to, but basically my thoughts are I really like Komi and Tanano. I like the relationship, but I can't stand some of the side characters and it just diminished my enjoyment a lot. I don't think I will be continuing with this. If you like this, each their own, but it just wasn't this series for me. But something I was happy consuming was Tomochan is a Girl. I did finish this, and I did already film the review for this, so it should be up, I think, maybe next week. But the ending was not very satisfying, I'm gonna be honest, but the journey was funny, it was cute, it was wholesome, it was good. And so I still recommend this to pick up if you're looking for a rom-com set in high school. It's kind of about a tomboy and her childhood friend that she has a crush on who doesn't really see her as a quote-unquote girl, and just her attempts at getting his attention. The ending could have been better. It was very cliche, but like, what do you expect from a high school romance short manga series? I mean, I wasn't expecting anything different, so I'm glad that I read this, and like I said, review coming soon. Okay, and then I read, sorry, this is getting long. I did read a lot, but volume 2 of My Senpai is Annoying. I regret not picking up more of this. Like, it is really good for some reason. I really like it. It is in color, but like, even if it was in black and white, I really liked it. I really like their dynamic. He's like kind of a troll, but this is a really wholesome, cute relationship. I like things about adult relationships very much. This is wholesome though. It's nothing explicit or anything like that. But yeah, this continues to be like a really good series in my opinion, so I'm excited to pick up more. I think there's 4 volumes out in English right now, so yeah. And then lastly, the big chunk of what I read this month. I'm not gonna pull out the rest of the volumes, but I did read volume 4 through 20 of Bakuman, and I sound like a broken record, but a review coming for this soon. I don't care if it's old, I don't care if everyone's read it. I really want to talk about this more, but I love Bakuman. This was actually a reread, but I first read it years and years ago. The ending continues to be meh in my opinion, but like the journey. Yeah, I definitely think the last 2 volumes are the weakest of the series. The whole arc with Miho seems like a really bad afterthought. I care more about their relationship than Miho and Mashiro, but you know, that was the whole goal of the manga, so of course it had to be in the ending. But yeah, I really enjoyed Bakuman. If you want to learn more about the manga industry, specifically about Shonen Jump and how it works, definitely recommend this series. Even though it is not nonfiction, you can tell that a lot of the struggles that they face are very personal to the creators, who are the same creators as Death Note and Platinum End. So it is really interesting in that aspect. Like, at least I would suggest at least giving a few volumes a chance, because it really does give insight into the industry, and I think is really interesting manga in that aspect. So yeah, that is everything I read for the month. Totaled 49 volumes, I believe, which is a lot, but I am trying to get through more of my collection. I don't know if I'm gonna post a haul video this month, but I barely bought any manga. I just focused on reading. And I'll pop up my reading goals on the screen. I completed every goal except finishing Bloom Into You. People have been asking me when I'm going to do a review of that, but like the period of time when I read the first 5 volumes and then when I ordered the rest was too long, and I kind of lost interest, so I'm going to need to reread the whole series, which I will do eventually. I will definitely do that eventually. But for now, that's kind of on the back burner. And then these are my goals for April. I mean, it's not like I'm going to stick to these religiously, but like it's there, and I think that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. I would like to continue Silver Spoon, but like I said, I don't have the rest of the volumes. So yeah, I'll be reading more of Oran unless it becomes unbearable. I will drop it. I'm not gonna force myself to read more of that. Definitely want to finish Blank Canvas, finish Ping Pong. It was one of the first things I ever hauled on this channel, and it's just sitting there because like I love the anime so much, and I know I'm gonna love the manga, but I just need to be in the right headspace to read that. And then I wanted to start Blue Period because that's also something I've had for a long time, and I was debating waiting until volume 3 came out, but I should just read it now. And then continuing Dr. Stone. I think I've stocked up to about 3 volumes. Whenever my order comes in from in-stock trades, that's been kind of on hold. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this long video, and please look out for, I think I will be doing reviews on Arakawa, Bakuman, and Tomochan as a Girl. And then if I finish Oran, and then my lesbian experience with loneliness once I finish those sequels, and then Blank Canvas. I did promise to do a collection video once I read more of my collection, so that is my goal right now. I want to do that for y'all, but I hope y'all are having a great day. I hope you like this video. If you read any of these and want to discuss with me, feel free to DM me on Instagram or just talk in the comments with me, and bye!